this morning, Joe Biden's caretaker decided that they would pre-pardon a whole other group of people. Anthony Fauci, General Miley, the J6 committee, including Liz Cheney. Wild to me. I wanted to get your guys' thoughts. I'll start with Styx and then go to Hannah Claire. What are your initial thoughts on, in particular, obviously the Fauci pardon, which everyone is,
that's rather telling now, isn't it? The thing is that it's not a presidential power to preemptively pardon people, as far as I know, because they haven't actually been charged with or convicted of any crime. So it makes absolutely no sense. I don't think it would hold up in front of the Supreme Court if there was a challenge to that. And I don't know that Trump is actually going to go after Milley, Fauci, the J6 committee, and people like that. I don't think that he will. So it's completely useless. But now I'm thinking maybe it would be a good idea if he did, just to force a court decision.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I mean, I think
Fauci definitely needs to be prosecuted.
This preemptive pardon, this retroactive immunity is a terrible precedent. So maybe it would be good that at least got challenged in court. What do you think, Hannah Claire?
I think that it's obviously freaking out the mainstream media that he's picked someone or he's done something that they're like, we're not even sure he has the legal grounds to do it. Yeah. Like on the one hand, if you read these articles, it'll be like, well, Donald Trump has made an enemies list and he's sworn vengeance. And then you get like a third paragraph and they're like, but there's actually there's no clarity on whether people who have not even been investigated for a crime can be preemptively pardoned. And, one of the articles I read was saying when he pardoned all the federal death row inmates, there were 2 that weren't signing the agreement to get commuted to life. And that this is kind of a controversy, partially because people were surprised, but also because so then do they just stay on federal death row?
Yeah.
And in this case, these people who haven't been charged with anything, what agreement would they sign? I mean, it's not even clear how this would be carried out or offered to them other than in last minute name only. The one that bothers me the most is Anthony Fauci. I think that he has just somehow charmed his way into the most cushy life. And I think a lot of stuff that happened during COVID is worth re-examining. I mean, there are a lot of things going on right now, so I don't know that it would be a top priority for the Trump administration on day one. But saying, oh yeah, this guy definitely did nothing wrong, no matter what Trump says, seems like it's a lie even to Democrats.
The fact that they needed to try to preemptively pardon him is quite telling. And keep in mind, this was the dude in charge of the AIDS response way back in the day as well. And a lot of people forget that it was Fauci that was in control then as well, and made a series of mistakes that he had to own up to later. And he's like, oh, well, yeah, we told people that only anal sex would cause AIDS.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we were wrong. We were following the science of the time, and it seems like they did the same thing with, Jabby McJab and things like that.
The crime everyone forgets that makes me the most mad, and I know this is wrong. Okay, I know, but it makes me more mad than his COOF response, and that is the Beagles. This is something that most people don't know about. I just want to remind people what kind of guy Anthony Fauci really is. These are beagles here that were bound and had their heads stuck in nets, so that this is what the government found, right? Fauci shipped part of a $375,000 grant to a lab in Tunisia to sedate beagles, lock their heads in mesh cages filled with hungry sandflies so the insects could eat them alive. Scientists cut their vocal cords because they couldn't stand the crying. That is
the fact that this is actually true is 100% phantasmagoric.
Yeah, it's
it's like Mengele would probably have found that inhumane.
Yeah, it's the guy that did that, I always have kind of, obviously I'm a pet guy, 5 cats, 3 dogs, and 4 stupid garbage hermit crabs. But you can tell a lot about someone, how they treat their pets or just how they treat animals in general. And the fact that he would have, signed off on that is diabolical to me.
He's evil.
Yeah, it's just pure evil. You mean to tell me that there was no other humane way that you could have tested that? I just and by the way, if you're going to do that, then you don't get to cut their vocal cords, in my opinion. If you're going to participate in that, then you listen to it. You hear them crying and whimpering. You listen to every bit of it. And Fauci should have stood there the whole time. Not that it would have bothered him.
At least use a less intelligent animal that still feels pain, maybe, but you care less about it, like a rat or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it speaks to Joe Biden too. I mean, I'm going to go back to when he pardoned the federal death row inmates. We then got to read the people who were given life in prison were people who had, attacked women, had been violent with groups of people. There was one man who,
terrible
was responsible for the disappearance, and they still don't know what happened to a 10-month-old. But Biden wanted to be the humane president, right? He wants to sort of skate as if he is for treatment, and he's the defender of those who need advocacy, like maybe people who are in prison. In this case, he's saying, well, I'm taking a bold choice to protect these people from the evil political persecution Donald Trump will carry out, when it's obvious that he led a DOJ that was bent on political persecution in this country, and brought a lot of heavy charges, not just against Donald Trump, but against a lot of people and organizations during the last 4 years to meet a political goal. So he doesn't want you to look at the details of what Anthony Fauci has done or been responsible for. He just wants you to look at him as though he is the defender of those who would not be able to defend themselves. And that's just not true.
Yeah, the fact is that Fauci should be prosecuted. He probably won't be. I mean, he's an older man now anyway, so he's, going to kick the bucket at some point.
It would be
and
good.
He probably wouldn't have before. I mean, I don't think Trump, there's just so much going on at this point. I mean, if you look back to where we were in 2021, we're just facing different complications. I mean, no one really talks about COVID today the way that we were still actively talking about it during 2021. I don't know that Anthony Fauci, who I believe has retired with one of the biggest government pensions of all times, I think he's probably fine. And I hate to say that because I think there are a lot of questionable things in his past, and not just during COVID. I think Jeremy's right. There's a lot there. But he didn't have some sort of crazy target on his back like Joe Biden is implying.
Trump loved him. Trump gave him an award. I know this makes, on a day we should be celebrating, this makes, hardcore Trump fans uncomfortable when you bring it up. But, Operation Warp Speed, Trump gave Fauci an award. There's no indication that Trump was ever going to go after Fauci. None. So the fact that Biden pardoned him seems suspicious. And the J6 committee also seems suspicious. The motivation.
I think that Trump turned his back on Fauci towards the end, realizing the impact it had on his political career and also on human health. I think that Donald Trump said, "Oh shit, well, we made a mistake. Most of the stuff we did was okay, but that was a mistake." And then Biden comes in with vaccine mandates and more lockdownism and stuff like that. That was Biden's doing. Trump never mandated jack.
Yeah.
But he did award Fauci. I mean, I think that he was pressed to do so pragmatically. I think that it was more like he read the pulse of the public, realized that most people were on board with that sort of thing at the time, and so he went along with it. I don't think that he ever full-throatedly supported it, but
he did the best Fauci, he could with what he had
with a shit situation, which was in part caused by the Obama administration. They were the ones that funded the Wuhan lab.
And I think Anthony Fauci is like, if you were Trump in New York during the AIDS epidemic, there was probably a time that you looked at Anthony Fauci and like got used to hearing his name as an authority figure. I think that a lot of the narrative of what went wrong there is actually after the fact. Whereas COVID, we could kind of see in real time kind of how authoritarian the measures were and how they seem to be contradictory. To me, I could understand where if at one time Anthony Fauci seemed credible, you might be like, yeah, well, he's our top government health guy. Trump does have a level of loyalty there. It's just in real time, we watched his credibility fall apart, even more so than some of the other stuff that hadn't got as much attention.